Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh, yeah. Oh, please like and subscribe. Yeah. That good. Yeah. Ha ha.
All right, October 21st, 9 a.m. Waited a little longer to record today, get a little more sunlight, even though it's kind of overcast here. Just says it's raining at home. It is 5 degrees Celsius, and where we are, I don't know. We are I think coming close to Gibraltar Mine. We're north of Williams Lake on Highway 97. Headed north to Quesnel. McLeese Lake. I was trying to think. I'm like, what is the little town by Gibraltar Mine? I believe it's McLeese Lake. Something like that. We'll see. We're headed northbound either way. And right now, I am debating in my head to call the boss and see about this load. So it says we have 16 and a half hours to get to our customer, basically load and then delivery. So we have 16 and a half hours of drive time from here to our delivery tomorrow. I have 10 hours and 16 minutes of drive time left. It's basically 6 hours and 15 minutes of drive time tomorrow. So get up at 7 a.m. That's 1:15 Friday. If all goes to plan and I load really quick here, I guess whatever load time it takes here. Yeah, anything over half an hour will start counting against me, so we would have to load really quick. So 1:15, probably more like 2:15 by the time we're loaded and out of here. And I'm pulling into the rest area. Second rest area up ahead. And all of that's going to count against me. Can I make this delivery in Montana tomorrow afternoon? pedestrian. McLeese Lake. There we go. I'm not crazy after all. Well, but hang on now. Let's not get too hasty there. Turn the shoulder cam down at an angle, because normally at the top we have so much wasted space. Here you get to see a little more of the gauges and stuff. Let me know if you like it better once I show you the shoulder cam with a down angle. Next shoulder cam clip should be angled down. Like I see a speed limit sign and I start speeding up. It's like, no, it's still 60. So Gibraltar mine is off over here to the right. Yes, right. Up that road there. No, just 80, just 80, don't go, not 100 yet, not 100 yet. I know we have to do a lot of math, see, hammer down, see if we can make this load on Friday. Not that much in a rush, take her easy. Okay, so what do you guys suggested? Ian, actually. Next time I do a night video to explain what all my gauges are that you guys can see. What gauges do I have that cars don't? So I'll just go through all the gauges. In fact, let's go turn the gauges on my screen here as well. Because on the radio screen, I can have gauges there as well. Okay, there's a message on the radio that said there's an issue with those gauges. I'm like, those gauges are very, very wrong, so it's just not loading them. Now it's not going to load them at all. Okay, the gauges on the screen crashed. Well, darn it. It's restarting. Okay, let's start on the left-hand side. You got a small cluster of 4 gauges here, kind of behind the steering wheel. Top left corner here on the cluster is a DEF gauge, and that tells me how much DE fluid, diesel exhaust fluid. It is an environmental thing to, basically, as we burn diesel, our exhaust system has a filter in it that gets clogged up with all the carbon. It catches the carbon. It's basically a carbon catcher, so that we don't put all the carbon out into the ozone. And that carbon filter needs to be cleaned out. And the best way to clean it out is to burn it out. So diesel exhaust fluid gets inserted into the exhaust and really, really overheats that exhaust and burns out the carbon. So we have to fill up DEF usually every other time I fill up diesel. Then the next gauge next to it, still in the top row there, is oil pressure. How much oil pressure has got the engine have? Right now we're about 40 psi, a little over 40 psi oil pressure. It's important every time you start up the engine to make sure the oil pressure comes up. If it doesn't come up, you're going to blow your engine very quick. On the bottom left, we have our volts. And a lot of vehicles have voltages, but these days cars have a lot less gauges than they used to. But that tells me how many volts I'm charging at. Right now it's about 14 volts I'm putting into the batteries. Or I guess the alternator. I'm not mechanical at all. That's cool, by the way, the valley filled in with clouds. That's really cool. I'm not mechanically inclined, so I'm no genius as to what and how these gauges all work. And then the last one in the 4 cluster here, the bottom right corner, is water temperature, which is running at about 180 Fahrenheit right now. Then we got the big one. One on the left is my RPM. I know you guys can't read the RPM very well, but if the needle is straight up, it is 1,500 RPM. Big rigs run at a much lower RPM than cars do. Now we're in the clouds. So our RPM gauge is much, much lower. I'm running at about 14 RPM right now. That's where the truck should be running to save the most fuel. Usually we run it between 1,000 RPM to 2,000 RPM. That's the range you run in. You want to try to keep it right at the center at 1,500, but we can run between 1,000 RPM and 2,000 RPM. You don't want to get it higher than 2,000 RPM, you'll over rev the engine, and lower than 1,000 RPM, you lose a lot of power. So the sweet spot for power is between 14 and 1,600. You know what, maybe actually between 13 and 1,500. That's the sweet spot between power and torque all mixed together. That's the best place to be running if you're running with a heavy load. Then we've got my speedometer. Below the speedometer is my odometer, 8,000 83,666 kilometers. Below the RPM gauge, we have hours. So this truck has run 1,210 hours. And that's also where my temperature gauge is, 4.5 degrees Celsius. Now up over here, that green square, I usually have my trip economy on there. So the more this bottom bar gets filled in, the more fuel efficient I am. So the darker, the more green you see in the bar, like right now it's above average. I'm empty. And the average right now is 46 liters for 100 kilometers. So pretty darn good. There we got, shows what gear we're in. Oh, this last screen also shows the gear, but a really small number on the bottom. Very bottom left, bottom right corner. This one just shows the gear. Time, which is not set. I never used the time. We have gauges. I can put an RPM gauge over here. So it tells me our RPM at 1,420. And then back to the fuel economy. Okay, all big rigs have 2 air tanks. 2 air reserve tanks for our brakes, our air suspension, our air horns, our seat, everything run off of air, right? Air suspension and our brakes are run off of air. So we have 2 air tanks that need to be full of air at all times, just in case I need to slam on my brakes or hit a big bump and the air ride needs to vent a bunch of air. So here's a cluster of 8 gauges here behind this side of the steering wheel. The top left is the air pressure of tank 1, and the bottom left is air pressure on tank 2. Currently they're both at 125 psi. And that usually sits between 100 and 125, that's where it sits. And it should always sit there. If ever I see it going up and down a lot, that means I've got an air leak and the air compressor is having a hard time keeping up. You'll also hear the air compressor going. Second up and down here, so we got fuel right behind the steering wheel here. And then the bottom one is how much pressure I am applying to my foot valve. So we have a hand valve right up here. See it every now and then sticking out. That's my hand valve, which only does trailer brakes. Oh, well, that's not the rest area I was thinking, but could have stopped there. But the foot valve has a gauge here and tells me how much pressure I'm putting down. So I'm coming down a long, really steep hill, and I need to drag my brakes a little bit because I took a gear a little too high. I can see how much pressure I'm putting in, and if I'm dragging more than 5 psi, I gotta make a plan to get us slowed down more. And then we got the next one over here, the third row. That one shows my suspension air pressure. So the drives of the truck, how much air pressure is in the airbags of the suspension. And that, there's another gauge on the back of the cab on the outside, so I can see it on the outside. Window's completely fogged up, but I think it's just outside. But that gauge is really important for me when I'm loading. as far as how much weight I'm legally allowed to carry. So I know if I load that gauge to 55 psi, I'm legal to run in the US. If I load that gauge to 65 psi, I'm legal to run in Canada. So I have to keep an eye on that gauge when I'm loading. The only time I use that gauge is when I'm loading, make sure I'm not overloading. I rarely use the one in the truck because there's the one on the back of the cab installed, so that's pretty awesome. One over here, bottom of this third row, is my fuel filter. That's the DEF we were talking about. How clogged up the filter is with carbon, and if that gauge gets too high, I need to do a burn, and I never have to worry about that. Completely automatically, when that gauge comes up a little bit, it'll do a burn and burn out the carbon in the muffler, or in the exhaust system. We call it a regen. And then the last row, top right, is my front drive axle temperature, and the bottom one is my rear drive axle temperature. So both of the drive axles behind me. Right now it's sitting at about 140 and 130. The one that's getting power to it is a little bit warmer. And then on the radio, I have an oil temp. Oil temp is at 230 Fahrenheit. Below it is DPF status, which is the same as the fuel filter here. It's just a repeat of the same gauge. No need for it. Top center is my transmission temperature, which is at about 175, give or take. Bottom one is my miles per hour. My fuel economy, it's exactly the same gauge I'm getting up here, so once again it's a duplicate. That green bar is almost to the top, and this gauge is all the way to the top, so they're giving me the same information. And then on the top right is how much boost. You got a turbo boosting air into the truck to give it more oxygen. Cold oxygen runs through an intercooler. I think that's how it works. But that's how much boost the engine's getting. And then the bottom right hand corner is how much torque I have. Right now I'm sitting at about 35-40 at torque. That's all my gauges. Then I've got switches. Switches I use all the time. Got my trailer lights up here. My driving lights here. Parking lights here. My headlights here. And then on the bottom, you guys won't be able to see these, I don't think, but I've got a bottom left here. I've got a interior light, sleeper light, engine fan, rear-facing load light. There's another 2 rear-facing load lights down here. One of them is useless and doesn't have anything attached to it. And then on this side, beside the steering wheel, we've got a regen button. So if all of a sudden the filter did not automatically clear itself out, I can force it to do a regen. I've got my fog light switch. I've got a traction control switch. I can turn traction control off if I want. If I don't want the computer controlling my traction. Mirrors are completely fogged up. I've got a steep hill button. If I'm going up a steep hill or an angle, doing some funny off-roading stuff. Handy for logging trucks. You don't want the computer to be kicking in stuff because it thinks we're rolling over. It's like we're just driving at funny angles and your sensors are going off. There's the auxiliary switch, which is useless. Nothing is plugged into it. It's the wire that goes up, down, below the mirror. That's the auxiliary. I was thinking of putting in some, Christmas lights or something like that, and then when it comes to Christmas, I could hit that button and then have a glowing Christmas tree or some kind of Christmas lights outside. Maybe mounted on the back of the mirror or something. It'd be illegal to have that on while driving, but when I'm stopped, I can hit the auxiliary button and it would have power. And I've got four-way flashers, the beacon lights above. I have a PTO switch, which is useless to me because that's used for like dump trucks and stuff like that. And I have a air ride lift, so I lift the airbags all the way up so the truck noses down a bit. I've also got a suspension drop, so the front nose is up. Very handy to use when you're dropping a trailer. Hit the button to lift the suspension up, lower the landing gear, hit the button to lower the suspension, and just drive out. You don't have to do so much hard work lifting the trailer up. There's also a fifth wheel slider, so I can move the fifth wheel forward and backwards. I do that every now and then when I have really long loads, stretch the trailer out. Also, every state and province there has different laws on how long I can be, so I have to move the fifth wheel to where I'm legal. I'm in that happy place right now where I'm legal in almost all places, but it doesn't work for all loads, so I have to move it every now and then. And then the last three switches are, I've got a power divider lock. Right now I'm only getting power to one of the axles, one of my drive axles. So out of the 8 tires in the back, 4 sets of duals, only one set of those duals are getting power. If I hit the power divider lock, the front axle gets one set of duals that's powering, and the rear axle gets one set of duals that's got power. And then I can also lock the diffs, so I can lock up the front diff and the rear diff separately, which now gives all 4 duals power, and that gets used all the time in the winter, climbing up a steep mountain and not wanting to spin out. That's it. That's it from my buttons. This over here is my tablet. It is my e-log. And Cookie Monster takes care of that. Okay, that was lots of shoulder cam video, so let's get back to the hood cam. And of course there's the traditional, heating and all that stuff, but every car has that. And my shifters in the center console looks very similar to a car shifter because it's a automated manual transmission. So my truck is a manual transmission, but the computer does the shifting for me. So I just put it in drive. I can override it. There's a manual button, and I can tell it what gear to shift into, but it's still, the computer does the actual shifting. They're a little glitchy in the winter on snow passes, so you have to definitely run manual if you don't want to spin out. And it doesn't hurt turning traction control off when climbing those mountains either, because sometimes it goes, you start spinning and it hits the brakes for one, or the ABS, not the ABS, the traction control is applying brakes to certain wheels, so it's like, no. It applies brakes to the wheels that are spinning out. I didn't ask you to do that. Okay, we'll pull into a rest area here. Beautiful day up here. Alright. I'll be right back. On the road again. So signaling over there, these trucks don't automatically stop signaling like most cars do. You have to manually stop signaling. The other thing trucks don't have is airbags. No airbags in these things. I suspect it's due to the fact that our ride is so bumpy, so rough, that the airbags would accidentally go off. So yeah, usually if a truck's in an accident, usually the driver's in pretty bad shape because no airbags. So many a driver that smashed his head on the windshield because, or on the steering wheel, windshield would because the guy wasn't wearing a seatbelt. But that happens a lot too. Truckers don't wear a seatbelt. There's something weird about truckers. They just don't wear seatbelts. I feel weird if I don't have my seatbelt on. Good black lines on the road there. That farmer did some plowing in his field. I must have smashed my knee somewhere yesterday, maybe when loading that weird load. My knee hurts. And my hip hurts. I must have done something there with just chaining the load down or something like that. Another thing I have to keep in mind is, yeah, okay, if I'm not delivering this tomorrow, I'll be home very late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Not enough time to shoot video probably tomorrow morning. Okay, I have to keep that in mind as well. Make sure you guys get a video tomorrow. Man, that's gonna be a short week. Or a long week. I'm leaning toward the fact that it's gonna take them a long time to load me here. I've only loaded here once before and it took them a long time, so we'll see. I'm fine with either. Whatever. As far as welcome to Quesnel already? We're that close? Well, okie dokie. Yeah, as far as Sutco goes, like, what saves them more money? If I drive down all the way down there and deliver the load, I could drive on Saturday, drive home. That would not save Sutco any money because I'd have to be coming back empty. It would be either I deliver the load on Friday and a reset over there somewhere. I'm not a fan of that at all. why not just go home and have Friday, Saturday off and drive all of Sunday instead? Yeah, I'm really leaning toward that. It's better for Sutco and it's better for me. Well, not my payday, but for me, my mental health. And if we deliver, we can't get the winter tires switched on the weekend. We'll see. If they take a long time to load, it doesn't matter. That's what we're going to go with. If they load really quick, I might still want to go with that option. Further away from now than I thought. I think that's just a sign for the golf course way out here. I think so. I think we still have a couple kilometers to go. Christmas trees for sale. Huh. Seems a little early. It said pre-cut. I'm like, no. If I'm going to go out to a place like this to get a Christmas tree, I'm going to cut it myself. And look around us. There's Christmas trees everywhere. You do have to go get a permit to go in the Crown Land and to cut a tree. But it's really simple. You go online and just get a permit, drive up onto a mountain and just keep looking for a small tree that suits your needs for a Christmas tree. Just cut it down and have a real, natural tree from the wood. That's what my sister and brother-in-law do all the time. Make it an event. Drive up to the top of a mountain. Have hot cocoa in the snow, make snow forts, do some tobogganing, cut down your Christmas tree. Kids love it. At least they used to. They're getting to the high school age where I think nothing parents and Uncle Aunts do will be cool, but we'll try to do the cool stuff. Maybe I should make a TikTok account or Omegle account. Looks like a lot of the leaves are on the ground already. Yeah, a lot of these trees are completely naked over here already. Further north, there's a lot less colorful leaves on the trees. They're naked trees already. Hungry. Cookies are within arm reach. You guys all know, without cookies, I'm just a monster. tow truck in front of us, right? When we pulled on, I saw the tow truck. So I'm like, that big rig in front of us is going the wrong direction. Looks like a Kenworth just like mine is getting a tow home. Now this model of Kenworth, it's hard to tell how old the truck is because this is a brand new truck and it looks like just like a different truck that might be a decade old. This model has been around for a long time. Looks like he got that steering wheel pretty quick, or pretty straight. The truck is only going a little bit sideways down the road. I don't have my radio on. Looks like the tow truck's pretty old. Old Kenworth. Sentry towing. There's a SUV in the ditch that had a fun ride down there, or the lack of fun. Lake to the right hand side, Dragon Lake. Did smog get defeated in that lake? Yeah, I just finished listening to The Hobbit. It's a Google car. There's a Google car parked over there. You know, the camera car that does the street view. Welcome to Quesnel. I'm gonna say hi to the boss's parents. Don't know if they're home or not, but we'll say hi anyway. A little windy one at the end. And no, I don't know where they live. I just know to honk at that location on this highway. And every now and then I get a message from the boss that goes, "Hey, thanks for honking." There's an abandoned mall over here, so if one needs to park somewhere overnight, that mall has got as much parking as you would ever want. We got some construction. Also, there's a Timmy's kitty corner from abandoned malls, so we've got that. A&W. And a Walmart across the street too, and a grocery shopping, Canadian Tire. Yeah, KFC. Don't see why it's blocked off, but I didn't see any kind of resume speed, but I'm going to assume that I can resume speed. Well, it looks like the valley, the town is in fog as well. welcome to foggy Quesnel. Narrow bridge.
Keep right toward Highway 97 North.
Bouncy bridge. That was the Fraser River. And then the second little bridge over there was just going over top of train tracks.
In 400 meters, keep right toward Highway 97 North.
Huh, car carrier is going straight.
Highway 97 North.
Either he doesn't know the area or he's stopping here somewhere.
600 meters, turn right on Caribou Highway.
Because there's no way of keeping on going north on 97 that way. Hang on, that wasn't the Fraser River, is it? I think the Fraser River is actually ahead of us. There's some other kind of river. Probably the Quesnel River. Just a guess. I don't know what the actual river is. Unless the Fraser River splits up. Because the actual Fraser River is right in front of us. Unless it loops around. I need to look at a map. That's what I need to do. Yeah, it's a separate river according to my GPS.
Turn right to the traffic light.
So right in front of us is the Fraser River. In the fog.
In 2.5 kilometers, turn right on Grove Avenue. Alright guys, I'll call it a day here. I'm going to be pulling into the sawmill here.
only picked up here once before, so I hope I kind of remember what to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, commenting, thumbs up, supporting me, and, well, just watching. Even if all you do is just watch, that's already awesome. So, thank you for all that. And then, of course, those people that hit that join button. This weekend's bonus video is pretty spectacular, driving down Fraser Canyon along Highway 1. 99 cents a month. But I am out of here. You guys are appreciated, and you guys rock.
This video is brought to you in part by the letter C and these YouTube members. Cookie starts with C. What other things start with C? Oh, who cares what other things? C is for cookie, and that's good enough for me. Thanks for watching. Nom, 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 nom.